In previous video we discussed about the anticoagulant 1. In that video we learn about the heparin and low molecular weight heparin. Today we discuss about the warfarin and other oral anticoagulant drugs. Okay, so warfarin, if we see the history, then it is responsible for the hemorrhagic disease in the cattle. Okay, this is the it is a grass. This grass it is responsible for the hemorrhagic disease in the cattle. So farmer go to this Wisconsin University, and one chemist found the dicoumaril. It's a bis hydroxycoumarin, and it is responsible for the hemorrhage in the cattle. And then there is at Wisconsin, okay, they developed the warfarin. Okay, so in name it's already suggests in the name warfarin. W for the Wisconsin, A for the Alumni Research Foundation Coumarin. Okay, so it's a Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation Coumarin, and short form it is a warfarin. And warfarin it is useful as a 2 to 10 milligram in dose. Okay, so it's about the warfarin, how it's identified and developed. So let's see the mechanism of action. Of the warfarin. So it is the oral anticoagulant, and we already know that the vitamin K in reduced form, it's necessary. This vitamin K hydroquinones, it is necessary as a cofactor, in which it is in the cofactor of the gamma glutamyl carboxylation. Okay, there is a gamma carboxylation of the glutamate residues of the various factor, like the factor 2, 7, 9 and 10. Factor 2, 7, 9 and 10. 2 is there is a prothrombin. Okay, so 2, 7, 9 and 10 factors activation requires this reduced form of the vitamin K, and this reduced form of the vitamin K, it is derived from this vitamin K epoxide, okay, by the vitamin K epoxide reductase enzyme. So this warfarin and other warfarin like oral anticoagulant drug, like the coumarin anticoagulant drug, it is inhibit this vitamin K epoxide reductase enzyme. Okay, it inhibits the vitamin K epoxide reductase enzyme. So there is no reduced form of the vitamin K available. Okay, no vitamin K in the reduced form it is available. So there is no gamma carboxylation of the glutamate residues at a factor 2, 7, 9 and 10. So there is no formation of the activated 2, 7, 9 and 10 factors. So it is inhibited, and ultimately there is a anticoagulant effect. Let's see the others effect. It is related to the warfarin against the heparin. So heparin, it is the action, it is the onset is in just minutes to hours, but in this warfarin anticoagulant effect onset is 8 to 10 hours, but full effect it's come after the 1 to 3 days. And why this occur? Because vitamin K ultimately inhibit the activation of the different factor 2, 7, 9 and 10, and earliest this T half of the factor 7 it is a 6 hours. Okay, T half of the factor 7 is 6 hours, but let's see the T half of the factor 2, it is a 60 hours. So ultimately when this factor 2, 7, 9 and 10 activated factor in blood disappear, then full effect of the warfarin start. Okay, and it is the T half of the factor 2 is a 60 hours. So warfarin onset action it is a 8 to 10 hour, but there is already synthesis factor which is available in the blood, and let's see the T-half of the factor 2. So it is a full effect come after the 1 to 3 days. So we need the heparin first when we use the warfarin, and after the 3, 4 or 7 days we stop the heparin and ultimately shift to the warfarin. Okay, so why there is a warfarin? It is a delay effect. Try to remember this thing. Okay, so effect develops the gradually as clotting factor already available in the plasma. Okay, then again, why warfarin not used in vitro? Okay, so heparin it is used in vitro but not warfarin. So why? So this warfarin ultimately when we are using in the vitro, then it does not inhibit this activation of the factor 2, 7, 9 and 10. So it is not inhibits the or not used in the vitro, because the blood have already synthesized factor 2, 7, 9 and 10. Let's see the pharmacokinetics of the warfarin. So warfarin is a rapidly and completely absorbed orally. It is the oral anticoagulant. Heparin we are using by the intravenous route or subcutaneous route. Okay, so here the difference is the oral anticoagulant. It is a plasma protein binding. See, the plasma protein binding is a 99%. Okay, more than 90%. So there is a more drug interaction. If some drug interact with the plasma protein and displace this warfarin, then there is a chances of the more toxicity because of the it is a freely available. Okay, it also cross the placenta, so there is a chances of the fetal hemorrhage and fetal warfarin syndrome we see in the later part in the ADR. It is also secreted in the milk, but there is a no effect occur in the suckling infant. Okay, so it is a warfarin also safe in the if mother is the lactating mother. It is a partially conjugated with the glucuronic acid and undergoing the enterohepatic circulation, and it is excreted in urine. So in PK particularly, try to remember it is orally absorbed, more plasma protein bound, and it is cross the placenta. Okay, and it also secreted in the milk. Let's see the adverse effects. So all the anticoagulant, either it is a oral anticoagulant or other parenteral anticoagulant, there is a main ADR, it is a bleeding. Main ADR is a bleeding, so there is a chance of the ecchymosis, epistaxis, hematuria and other GIT hemorrhages. Okay, also try to remember dermatitis, diarrhea and alopecia with this warfarin. Also there is a chances of the skin necrosis if there is a deficiency of the protein C and protein S also. Let's see the birth defect. Okay, there is a fetal warfarin syndrome. If mother is taking this warfarin particularly during the first trimester, then there is a nasal bone hypoplasia. Okay, nasal bone hypoplasia, there is a epiphyseal calcification. Okay, there is a facial and CNS abnormalities. So it is the contraindicated in pregnancy, particularly to the first trimester of the pregnancy. Okay, if we are using this warfarin into the second and third term, then there is a hypoproteinemia occur in neonate. Also there is a purple toe syndrome. Okay, there is a discoloration of the toe and it's a bluish color, so there is a purple toe syndrome, and other like the nausea, vomiting, fever and some muscle ache. Okay, so these are the ADR, it is related to the warfarin, and try to remember there is a birth defect or teratogenic effect with this warfarin. Okay, it is a fetal warfarin syndrome. Okay, so if there is a bleeding with this warfarin, so what we do? Okay, so withhold the anticoagulant, means we stop the warfarin if there is a prothrombin time, it is a more than INR, it is a equal to 5, then we give the oral vitamin K1. Okay, we give the oral vitamin K1, but if there is a INR is greater than or equal to 20, then we give the fresh frozen plasma, because we want to give the activated factor 2, 7, 9 and 10 from the outer side. Okay, so there is a 10 to 20 milliliter per kg we are using this fresh frozen plasma. So we want to give the clotting factors. Okay, but if the specific antidote, then it is a vitamin K1 10 milligram we are giving, and we give the vitamin K1, but it takes the longer time, minimum 6 to 24 hours, because it have to the synthesize the clotting factor, and it takes some time. Okay, how we monitoring this anticoagulant therapy? So it is the factor 2, 7, 9 and 10, and it is more related to the extrinsic pathway. So there is, it's a prothrombin time. Okay, previously we learned about the prothrombin time and activated partial thromboplastin time. So here we monitor this warfarin by the prothrombin time, and this prothrombin time is the time required for the clotting of citrated plasma after the addition of the calcium and thromboplastin. Okay, so it is a prothrombin time, and it is a equation for the prothrombin time. It is a measure in INR, international normalized ratio. INR, international normalized ratio. Try to remember this thing. It is a in INR. Okay, PT, prothrombin time of the patient. PT, prothrombin time of the reference, means control normal human, and there is a ISI. It is the international sensitivity index of the thromboplastin. Okay, so when we use this warfarin, then ultimately we measure the prothrombin time. Okay, we measure the prothrombin time, international normalized ratio. Okay, so ultimately we focus on the INR. Okay, so it is the INR. If we use this warfarin for the prophylaxis of the deep vein thrombosis and other similar conditions, then INR should be the between 2 to 2.5. Okay, it is a 2 to 2.5. In some other conditions like the pulmonary embolism and deep vein thrombosis treatment part, then there is a 2 to 3, and there is a recurrent thromboembolism, arterial MI, okay, and prosthetic heart valve, then there is a 3 to 3.5. Some book also give the 4. Okay, INR. Let's see the drug interaction with the various warfarin. Okay, warfarin and some other drugs. So drugs which increase the activity or increase the warfarin activity, warfarin action. So how it occurs? So first one, it is a metabolism. If we inhibit the metabolism like the CYP2C9, okay, if we inhibit this by the cimetidine and other drug, then ultimately cimetidine other drug, then there is an increase in the warfarin activity. Okay, if we decrease the clotting factor, like if we are giving the antibiotics, so ultimately intestinal flora is inhibited, so there is no vitamin K synthesis. Okay, if there is no vitamin K synthesis, then again there is warfarin activity is increase. Okay, also we already know about the plasma protein binding. Warfarin is greater than 90%. Okay, so if we add some drug like the aspirin and sulfonamide, which have the more affinity for the plasma protein, and it is a more binding with the plasma protein, so it displaces the warfarin. So warfarin have the more in the blood in plasma, and it gives the toxicity. Okay, again the drug that promote the bleeding like the other, it's aspirin or heparin. Okay, if we give this aspirin with the warfarin or heparin with the warfarin, then there is more chances of the bleeding. Let's see the drug that decrease the warfarin activity. So if we give the vitamin K, then it is a more 2, 7, 9, 10 and this factor synthesized, so there is a less bleeding. Okay, some other drug like the cholestyramine and cholestyramine, so this reduce the absorption of the warfarin. Okay, reduce the absorption of the warfarin. So there is a decrease in the toxicity or decrease in the activity or action. Okay, again the phenytoin and barbiturate. This phenytoin and barbiturate is a induction of the metabolism. So if there is a induced the metabolism, then ultimately it decreases the action of the warfarin. Okay, here we compare the various aspects of the heparin with the other oral anticoagulant drugs. So first one is about the chemistry. So heparin is a mucopolysaccharide. Okay, let's see here the chemistry. It is a mucopolysaccharide. Warfarin is a coumarin derivative. So it is easily remember when you describe in exam, then it is easily remember if we remember this point. Okay, so this is the chemistry. It is the mucopolysaccharide in the heparin, warfarin, coumarin derivatives. Okay, source जाने दो. Then routes of administration, it is the intravenous and sub-Q. We are not using the heparin with the intramuscular route. Why? Because there is a more chances of the hematoma. So it is the IV and sub-Q. Okay, and here it is the oral anticoagulant. So warfarin is the oral anticoagulant. Onset of action, it is the heparin is the immediate. Okay, and here warfarin it is a delay effect. Why there is a delay effect? Because there is a 2, 7, 9 and 10 which is already in the blood. It is a already in the blood. Okay, so जब factor 2 की effect जाएगी, then it is a effective. So it is a delay effect for the 1 to 3 days. Let's see the duration of action is the 4 to 6 hours and 3 to 6 days. Okay, activity in vitro, it is useful in the vitro, but it is not useful in the vitro. Why? Because the factor 2, 7, 9 and 10 it is already present in the blood, and warfarin cannot inhibit this in the which is present in outside of the body. Okay, so it is not used in the vitro. Mechanism of action, so it is block the factor 2 and 10. Okay, it is a binding with the antithrombin 3 complex, and it is a inhibit the factor 10 and thrombin. Okay, so it is a indirect thrombin inhibitor. Okay, and it is a with warfarin, it is a vitamin K dependent inhibition of the factor 2, 7 and 9. Okay, if we talk about the antagonist, then it is the protamine sulfate, which is the antidote for the heparin. Okay, and it is also serve the some partial antidote for the lower molecular weight heparin also. And here the warfarin antidote, it is a vitamin K. If we talk about the laboratory monitoring, then there is a activated partial thromboplastin time or clotting time. Okay, particularly the APTT is desirable for the heparin monitoring. And in the warfarin, we already talk about the prothrombin time, which is measured in the INR. Okay, so it's a necessary for the monitoring of the warfarin. Okay, many drug interaction which is seen with the warfarin, heparin के साथ देखने को नहीं मिलेगी. So warfarin when we use, it's a causally use. Okay, so there is a more and more drug interaction. Even the food drug interaction is with the warfarin. Okay, so when we use in the some treatment part or some earlier part, then we start the therapy with the heparin because it's the acute onset and quicker action. There is a delay effect. So when we give for the prophylaxis, earlier we start with the heparin part and shift to the warfarin. Okay. Then other anticoagulant is the dicumarel. Okay, so it is the first oral anticoagulant which is used clinically. So it's in the MCQ part when asked about the first oral anticoagulant which is used clinically, then it's a dicumarel. Okay, so try to remember this thing. And why it is not used nowadays? Main it is a warfarin and other oral anticoagulant drug. It is useful. This dicumarel and other drugs are not useful because of the various ADR and there is a erratic response. Okay, other it is the acinocumarel and phenbrocouman, then phenydione and anisinidione. So let's see the use of this anticoagulant. Okay, so heparin or warfarin or other newer drugs, this anticoagulant drug is ultimately useful in the venous thrombus or thromboembolic complications. Okay, so this drug it is useful either for the prevention purpose or the treatment purpose of the venous thrombi. Okay, because in the venous thrombi main role there is a anticoagulant because it is a fibrin related. Okay, it is related to the coagulation pathway, and in arterial there is a main role, it is a platelet. So here we are using, when we talk about the anticoagulant, and we give the immediate, we start with the heparin because it is a rapid and short lived action. Okay, and ultimately when we need the maintenance therapy, then we shift towards the warfarin or other oral anticoagulant drug. Okay, so it's a use we already seen in heparin and low molecular weight heparin, so we are not going in that much detail. So it is a warfarin, it is a useful to 2 to 10 milligram OD dose. It is a deep vein thrombosis, pulmonary embolism, myocardial infarction, unstable angina, and various other conditions when we want to prevent the thrombus formation or extension of the thrombus in venous particularly. Okay, so it is a warfarin. Then we see about the oral direct thrombin inhibitor. Okay, the newer drug, oral direct thrombin inhibitor. Previously we learned about the indirect thrombin inhibitor drug and direct thrombin inhibitor drug. Okay, parent drug. Today we discuss about the oral direct thrombin inhibitor, and it is a dabigatran. Try to remember this word. It is a two newer drug in oral anticoagulant. One is a dabigatran and another one is the rivaroxaban. Okay, so this dabigatran etaxylate mesylate. It is a pro drug. Dabigatran etaxylate mesylate, it is a pro drug, and it is converted into the dabigatran. Okay, and then it is effective. Okay, so after the oral absorption, it is a active metabolite. It's converted into the active metabolite dabigatran. Okay, it's a reversibly block the catalytic site of the thrombin. So it's a directly thrombin inhibitor, TF 12 to 14 hour. It is well tolerated. This newer oral anticoagulant drug like the dabigatran and rivaroxaban, it is equally effective to the low molecular weight heparin. Okay, it is equally effective to the low molecular weight heparin and warfarin. Okay, so it is equally effective, well tolerated. So nowadays we use this dabigatran and rivaroxaban over the warfarin. Okay, and this dabigatran is a dose 150 milligram BD. Antidote for the dabigatran is the edarucizumab. Okay, try to remember this word. It is useful. It is useful in the MCQ purpose also. Okay, if ask MCQ purpose antidote of the various drugs, then there is a dabigatran. It is the edarucizumab. Try to remember this word, edarucizumab. Then another is the siraparetan. Okay, siraparetan. It's a broad spectrum anticoagulant antidote. Try to remember this thing. Is the broad spectrum anticoagulant antidote, and it is useful in the factor 10A inhibitor also and lepirudin also. Okay, so if there is a toxicity with this lepirudin and factor 10A inhibitor, factor 10A inhibitor other antidote also, but it is the broad spectrum and anticoagulant. Agar koi puchta hai, then there is a siraparetan. Okay, try to remember these things. So both this is for the MCQ purpose. Okay, then the rivaroxaban. Okay, rivaroxaban, apixaban. So in this name there is a XA. Okay, in this name there is a XA, rivaroxaban. So XA, it is a 10 factor 10A inhibitor. Okay, so it is directly inhibit the factor 10A. Okay, activated factor 10. It is also the orally effective, rapidly acting, and duration of action is 24 hours. Earlier we seen it is equally effective and well tolerated to the compared to the low molecular weight heparin and warfarin. No laboratory monitoring is required in dabigatran and rivaroxaban. Okay, if we see the dose, so then it's in the treatment deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism, there is a 50 milligram 2 times in a day for 3 weeks, and then ultimately 20 milligram OD. If we use in the prophylaxis, then nowadays it also useful in the prophylaxis of the acute coronary syndromes. Okay, dose 2.5 milligram day with the aspirin and clopidogrel. Then venous thromboembolism following the total knee and total knee or hip replacement, there is a 10 milligram OD for the prophylaxis purpose, and if there is a knee replacement, then there is a 14 days. Okay, if we talk about the knee replacement, 14 days. If about the hip replacement, in hip replacement there is a more chances of the venous thromboembolism. Okay, so there is a more day, 35 days required. In knee there is a 14 day required. Okay, acute coronary syndrome dose is only 2.5 milligram, यहाँ पे 10 milligram OD. Okay, and if in the treatment of the venous thromboembolism, then 50 milligram BD for 3 weeks, then 20 milligram, and it is a newer drug. This rivaroxaban and dabigatran, it is a newer drugs. Okay, so it's all about the rivaroxaban. Side effect is a bleeding, nausea, hypotension, and tachycardia. Okay, so it's we already learn about the various oral anticoagulant. Okay, one is a warfarin, second one is a dabigatran, and rivaroxaban. Okay, these three are oral anticoagulant. Warfarin, nowadays more we use the dabigatran and rivaroxaban over the warfarin. Okay, warfarin is the very cheapest drug, but we are using this dabigatran and rivaroxaban. Why? Because the more and more drug interaction. Okay, warfarin having the more drug interaction with the various drug and food also. So we need to monitor the INR, prothrombin time. Okay, we need the monitoring of the prothrombin time, and if this prothrombin time if increase more, we previously learned in the ADR part, then there is a bleeding. Okay, so more chances of bleeding on if there is a particular patient is a hypertensive, then there is a hemorrhage also, cerebral hemorrhage. So it is need to control the prothrombin time. Okay, we have to monitor the prothrombin time, warfarin. And this dabigatran and rivaroxaban, we do not need to monitoring of the prothrombin time or any other laboratory monitoring, which is required in the heparin also, like the APTT. Okay, so we use nowadays rivaroxaban and dabigatran. Okay, let's see the some other useful about the antidote. So heparin, we today talk about the dabigatran and factor 10A inhibitor antidote. Okay, so let's see the some other. It's heparin. We already run about the protamine sulfate. Okay, protamine sulfate. Okay, this protamine sulfate, it also the partially reversal of the low molecular weight heparin. So low molecular weight heparin partially reversible by this protamine sulfate. Okay, if we talk about the warfarin, then there is the antidote, specific antidote. It is the vitamin K1. Okay, it is a phytonadione. Okay, then other, it is a direct thrombin inhibitor, lepirudin. Then lepirudin, it is a siraparentane. Okay, this drug, it is a broad spectrum anticoagulant antidote, and it is the antidote of the lepirudin also and factor 10A inhibitor also. Then factor 10A inhibitor such as the rivaroxaban and apixaban, it is a antidote, specific antidote. It is a andexanet alpha. Okay, andexanet alpha. So it is useful in the factor 10A inhibitor toxicity. Okay, we already learned about the dabigatran. In dabigatran, okay, dabigatran, there is a edarucizumab. Okay, edarucizumab, it is the antidote for the dabigatran toxicity. So it is all about the oral anticoagulant drug. Okay, so these are my references for today's video. Thank you.